Hey guys, Ryan here from Indy Wrestling School, and today we're doing a watch-along of a show that nobody's ever seen before, coming up. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing below. We put out new videos every single Thursday for 3 Minute Thursday. So a couple weeks ago I did this watch along where I kind of revisited one of the shows that I had done years ago. And this is another one of those episodes. It's the same kind of event. It's called the Turkey Bowl. And the idea was nobody was ever supposed to really see this event. And we're going to kind of break down everything I did that day, everything that went along with creating that event, and what went into it as far as production and stuff like that. Once again, this is an event that nobody was intended to see. Having said that, we still put a lot of work into it. We still hired some names for it. We paid a lot of talent to be there. We hired a venue to do this. We actually did it at the world famous Monster Factory. And this was done in 2018. It was, I think, November of 2018 we filmed this. So about 2 years ago. And a lot went into it. So we did multiple cameras and stuff like that. So it's not just a throwaway, who cares about it. We put a lot of work into it. And I'm gonna break down exactly what went into this show. So let's get to the event right now. All right, here we go. This is the opening that we kind of put together. It was a music video, and I don't know if I'll have the volume on this as you guys are watching, or if it'll be like, if it's on, it'll be pretty low. So we just did a drone shot. This was actually, as soon as I had gotten there, I filmed that drone shot, and then we did this this green screen opening with everybody who would participate in the event. So we had everybody do these kind of almost an homage to those 80s promos before the WWF Survivor Series pay-per-views, and that's kind of what this event is modeled after. It's that throwback, over-the-top characters, and we actually, this guy thought he was disappearing into the green screen because his green singlet was actually blending into the green screen. So it's interesting because we had gotten there and a lot of people were tense that day because, you know, Shane Douglas is there. Even though he had been in the Turkey Bowl the year before, my normal crew of guys, this guy right here, Kyle, is one of my normal guys, and Eric right there is one of my normal guys. And when I say normal guys, they're really just my friends who are on the shows. And this guy right here, his name is Ricky. So all these guys were pretty nervous, having a lot of these guys like KTB and there's the Slug, Shane Douglas and John Finnegan, and you know they're pretty nervous around a lot of these guys. You know, even Mike Law and stuff like that. As friendly as Shane is, it's intimidating, right? To be a pro wrestler and have to perform in front of them. Not only that, one of the first things I'm asking him to do is cut a promo in front of everybody here in front of a green screen. So as everybody's doing these promos, I'm kind of, not making fun of everybody, but just kind of keeping it very light. And I would say by the time, everybody had gone and then Shane was one of the last to go, I even, was cracking jokes towards Shane as well. And that really put everybody at ease. And it seemed like the whole event picked up after that, and luckily we filmed the match afterwards. So I'm glad we did these promos ahead of time, because that really put everybody in the right frame of mind, and everybody was really excited to get to work and get involved in the next match. There's Mr. Ooh La La, legend on the Independents, somebody who I've read about in magazines for years before I ever even saw an independent show. So it's kind of cool to have him on one of my shows, and I'm a big fan of Mr. Ooh La La, and have been for a number of years since I did get to see him in person, and there he is still disappearing into the green screen. And that's me, and I was doing the hosting. You see there, just on me alone, there are 2 cameras right there. There's 2 GoPros. I have one that's facing me, and then this camera that you're seeing right here, and then there's another camera that's on that table that's facing the ring. And then, so this camera is technically our hard camera. And then there's another one right next to it on the gimbal. This is a camera that's on the ring itself. I think this is a GoPro camera. So this one, now the stipulation for the Turkey Bowl is we randomly draw names, and each time a new person comes out, it's a new match. So every time somebody's out there, the match stipulation changes. So once that match is over, a new name gets called. The winner faces the new guy. It's a revolving gauntlet match. I don't think it's ever been done in pro wrestling. It's something I covered this last time, but it's something I used to do with my action figures, and this is just my real life action figures. So that's Eric Martin, who at the time was training at the Monster Factory. I think we even made a joke there that he hates being here because this is definitely not a normal situation for somebody like Eric Martin. This is a fun event that's not really meant to be seen by anybody, so it's kind of a joke comedy show. So this was an over-the-top rope match, so Battle Royal rules will apply in this one. And I apologize again, I said this last time, but if I end up doing commentary over this, it's just my natural instinct to jump in and start commentating the event as it's going on. So I apologize if I start doing that instead of telling you the ins and outs of the event. But one of the things we asked the Monster Factory to do, and I actually think I texted Eric about it, was if they could leave those two rings up, because I had seen pictures where they had both rings up back to back, and Eric made sure that they did, and we did a War Games match later on, obviously without the cage, but you know, I always loved seeing those old WCW events. I think it was World War III, where they would have the two or three rings, whatever it was. So that was really cool for us to be able to do that, and I always loved that kind of atmosphere. Finnegan just slid to the outside because he realized it's a battle royal and he doesn't really need to be in the ring. But that's the kind of loose atmosphere we create here. It's there's really no rules. And I encourage any promoters out there, or anybody who wants to be a promoter, aspiring promoters, if you have the opportunity to do this, even if it's before one of your shows, you know, a fun match that involves everybody, even if it's like I said, a battle royal or an old school, Survivor Series match that's just for fun, that, just your roster can see. Or, maybe you do show it to people on, as a Christmas Day special or something like that. I would absolutely say to do it. It's totally worth it. And Kyle's realizing that was not as easy as he thought it was going to be. But yeah, it really can help bond everybody together and bring out everybody's. You can see the green screen that we actually recorded the event on, and Kyle's trying to steal the belt, but he's knocking all my stuff over, so I'm sending him back away. I think he thought he was really in trouble there. But those are the green screens that we just kind of left them up, because I think they were actually up for the Monster Factory they do their own promos and stuff like that. So I think that was already up, and we just used them, but we did bring our own green screen equipment. And you see there's a photographer who's actually the brother of Kyle the Beast, or KTB. Great photographer. But, that was another expense that we put into the show, was I wanted really nice photographs to come out of it. And so that was one of the things. I just realized I had lost one of the names. So, one of the things had been pulled away, and Kyle ripping at that belt before. But yeah, so, this event certainly did cost money. If I had done this before, a regular event, it wouldn't have cost me anything, right? Because the ring's already there, the building's already paid for, the guys are already there anyway. But this was something that we thought, we didn't get a chance to do it before one of our events, and we thought it was worthwhile to do it. So, we made sure to invest in it, and long term I think it's a good investment, because everybody had a good time. This is an event that, more so than any regular show, like I watch this stuff more than I watch a regular show, because this is who the guys really are, and this is their real personality. The coal miner's glove there, I don't know if you can see, but it's in the left hand side of the screen there. This it's a giant basically rubber fist. And speaking of giant rubber, here comes Kyle with a giant rubber tire that he instantly realizes was too heavy, and he was going to try to use that as a weapon, but Jay's not taking. The tire actually fell on him, which was a shoot, by the way. That actually happened. He was fine, but he realized he was kind of stuck there for a second. That tire is deceptively heavy. JD Luscious, the guy in the purple there, coming to the outside to kind of check on him, make sure he was okay. And there's the coal miner's glove, which, if you saw the original coal miner's glove match, I think the famous one was Sting and Jake Roberts, if I remember correctly. It was basically it was designed to be a glove that had, metal studs or diamond encrusted or whatever. And ours is the opposite. It's basically foam. And the guys just sell it like it's devastating, but that's just because there's nobody there and there's nobody watching it. So, and you notice the one camera, we actually had the guy taking the pictures there, actually swapped his lens for the camera lens. That's why the camera lens right there looks a little off color to me. And that's after it was color corrected and stuff like that. It just was not a lens that was designed for that particular camera. So that always kind of, as you're watching this stuff, it'll bug you a little bit, but not enough to ruin the event. And these guys are actually really good friends in real life. They hang out all the time. And it's weird to see guys like licking their hands and stuff. This is all pre-COVID, obviously, and it's just the world has changed, I guess, so much in that short amount of time that it's weird to see people in there without masks and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get back to this normal life, and the mask thing will be a thing of the past, and we can all get back to doing everything we love, and a lot less sick people out there. But this is always impressive. We actually had a guy one time, as Jay's climbing to the top there, we actually had this skinny guy. So Jay, who's the guy doing the splash right there, I think this is a win for him here, so that match is over. Jay actually had been in this company. It was ECWA before I was doing any booking for them. He was working the ECWA shows, and he had been there for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months, something like that. It could have been longer. But basically, he would do that top rope walk, and it's really impressive when a guy that big can do it. So it always got a great reaction. And then this new small, cruiserweight, lightweight guy came in and had the freaking balls to go up to Jay and say, "Hey, that's one of my high spots. You can't do that anymore." So for that reason, I will never use that guy. I think he's such a douche. Because any cruiserweight can do that on any given day, and it's not impressive. What makes it impressive is it's this big guy doing this big move, and not only that, Jay was there way before this guy ever walked into the territory. And this is a character that I don't know if it's muted or not, but he does this impression of Stu Hart, but we call it Stu, Stew, instead of like it was spelled for the real Hart family. And he does the voice of Stu Hart so good, so we based the character on it, where he was this old time promoter, and it's based on the Beyond the Mat and the I don't know if it was Beyond the Mat or if it was the Hitman Hart Wrestling with Shadows documentary. It's one of those two, where Stu Hart is this old feeble looking dude, and then all of a sudden he's in the basement, the dungeon with these young guys, and he just locks on a hold and just breaks their arm, for lack of a better term. And yeah, so like it was always funny to us, and we always got a big kick out of it. So this obviously would never have gone on an actual show with paying fans or anything like that. But it was just something fun that we all enjoyed and thought it was hysterical. And it wasn't done in a mean way to mock Stu Hart or anything like that. It was actually to honor what we thought was a really cool character in those movies. I don't know where the toilet paper falls into that honoring thing, but I think that was just something he saw right before he walked out and thought it would be funny. So, and I apologize if you guys hear me drinking as we're talking during this, but when you ramble as much as I do, you get thirsty during these long watch-alongs. And there's another old school move that you really don't see much anymore, the claw. And it's funny too, because the first time I ever learned about the claw was from, like, I think it was Liar Liar. It obviously wasn't done like that, but that was the first time I ever heard that as a move, and I thought, oh, that'd be a cool wrestling move, not knowing that it was a wrestling move for all those years. And I didn't do it on the head. I did it. Actually, I did do it on the head, but the original claw was not done on the head. It was done on, like, the abdomen and stuff like that, I believe, when the Fritz von Erich was using it. So, and I could be wrong on that. You historians out there can correct me. Trying to see what our next match is here. I'm clearly excited because I just enjoy this event so much. And so the way this actually worked was, it's a total shoot, right? So when the name's coming out, the guy in the ring doesn't know who's coming out. Finnegan, who's the referee, doesn't know who's coming out. The person who's coming out doesn't know that they're next. And the match stipulation, they don't know what match stipulation they're going to have. So as this person is making their entrance, I'm giving the signal to Finnegan, and I'm pointing either to the entranceway, saying this guy's going to win, or I'm pointing to the guy in the ring and saying this guy's going to win. And then Finnegan will relay that information to both competitors, and it's up to them to come up with a creative finish. So it really is a hands-off booking approach for any bookers out there, but it's definitely fun to watch as a fan, and sometimes it's worth it just to watch what your guys can do and see how they can deliver, and just be a fan for a little bit. I think it's definitely a lost art sometimes. So a four corners match, we always get confused as to the rules for this. But the way we work it is you have to touch all four corners in succession. If there's any kind of a break there, the count gets restarted. So I know there's different ways to run a four corners match. That's just the way we do it. Mike Law is a guy who's really underrated. I don't know if you guys saw the video I posted about the how to go viral in wrestling. He was actually the guy who dove headfirst through that chair. And he's done a lot of good work for us. He's been around for a long time. I think he's been wrestling since 1998, which I guess is not that long. I started in 2002, so it's just 4 years before me, but I'm not a wrestler anymore, and he still is, and he seems like he gets better every year. So he's one of those guys. It's a shame that no major companies have really locked him down because of everything he adds to the show. He'd be a great asset for any company. Lots of green going on in that ring, though, huh? I mean, you got the turnbuckles, you got the apron, or the side curtains, I guess. You got Mike Law's trunks, you got those two green panels on the outside for the green screen effects. We could have green screened this whole match, now that I'm thinking about it. We didn't need to do anything. We could have just edited it later. And sort of the joke here is we were trying to make Jay go as long as he could because he's definitely winded at this point. So that's just those things we like to do to torture our friends. And the way we used to do it was, so like Jay's remembering the way we used to do the four corners was you had to actually drag your opponent with you to get all four of these corners. And again, just the licking of everything. Like, why? What are you doing? But pre-COVID, that wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was gross. It was still gross back then, but it wasn't a big deal. And then I'll block them here. Yep. And the cool thing about this, and not to spoil it, but we have Shane Douglas was in this. The year before, which was 2017, we had Kevin Sullivan, Just Incredible, and Shane Douglas in the Turkey Bowl. And there was one spot where J.D. Lush is there, who I've known since I was 3 years old. And then another friend of mine who wrestles as Travis Lee, I've known since third grade. And myself and Travis Lee were both big ECW fans and just fans of wrestling in general, but ECW in particular. And there's one portion of the match from last year where he's getting beat up, and they're taking that big coal miner's glove, which is just a fist, and he's basically getting the fist run into his butt by Just Incredible or Shane Douglas. It was one of the two. While Kevin Sullivan's hitting him with a cane, and Shane Douglas, just... I mean, it sounds weird, but that's pretty cool to get beat up by Shane Douglas, Just Incredible, Kevin Sullivan as a huge wrestling fan. Not only that, he was in the ring with his brother at the time, so it was like even cooler, because that's, you know, that's another person he grew up watching wrestling with, right? Mike Law just looks good in there, man. Moves so well. Well, not right now, because Jay is just not interested in moving. And I don't know if you noticed, but there is a turkey hanging, and that's for a turkey on a pole match, which will happen later. And there's really no rule with the turkey on a pole match. It's really just there. The rule is you have to use the turkey as a weapon before you're able to pin or submit your opponent. So you could tell we were running out of match stipulations as the amount of people who were in this has grown over the years. We've sort of had to dig deep and figure out more matches. Here goes Jay. That's 3. And this might be it. And that's it. And now Jay is really dead. He is really blown up now. Finnegan doing a nice job there, getting rid of all the stuff. Somebody else coming out next, and I'm excited. Probably somebody forgetting to hit the music, if I had to guess. Mike Law is making use of the second ring back there. Oh, it's Slug. Slug, his mask is a rental, okay. So I'm the one who wrote those titles, and they're always just to pop myself, and you know, as years have gone on, I kind of forget what I put, so anytime I see them, I always pop for my own jokes all over again. Slug, not a typical wrestler. He's not really trained, just kind of one of our buddies that we let wrestle with us when it's a show that, you know, doesn't have a lot of high stakes to it. You know, he does basically the easy stuff, you know. Gore, there you go. Gore's his finish. He got the name Slug. It was a finishing moves match, so he just had to hit his finisher. But he got his name Slug because it was in high school, and I was talking with a group of people, and they had mentioned that I had given nicknames to everybody, essentially. And as I was talking to these guys about, you know, how somebody's nickname came about, Slug kept going, I want a nickname, and I kept talking, and he was just annoying me, and I just looked at him, pointed to him, and said, Slug, and then kept talking. And as I did, he realized, no, I don't want that name, but it was too late, because everybody started calling him Slug after that, and that's kind of what he became known as. I personally don't know anybody who calls him by his real name, and as I'm sitting here now, I'm struggling to remember his real name. If I really think about it, I'm sure I can remember. I did remember it, okay. I do remember it now, but it always is a struggle because I've never used his real name. So, his name is not OLD. That literally was a typo that he still doesn't believe me that it was a typo, but I use Final Cut Pro as an edit, and for whatever reason, Final Cut Pro decides to autocorrect if you hit space. And if you don't go back and check, you know, it's going to automatically populate what it thinks you were trying to type. So that's what happened, and I didn't notice. And I usually check my stuff pretty frequently, but yeah, I didn't notice till the video was already up on Thanksgiving Day of 2018 when he messaged me about it. And by then, it was too late to change it. So it's forever lived in infamy amongst my friends. Body slam match up. Slug's trying to win immediately. And OLD saying no. Up. Slug taking his first bump of the day. Immediately regretted it. That's the thing, because I think at this point, the guys had been out of the ring for a couple months. I think our last show before this was maybe July or something like that. So it may have been a while, but since everybody had been in the ring, so it's not easy to get your bumping shoes back on. It doesn't come quick, I'll tell you that much. And there's a story here as he hits this kind of a weird looking punch. there was a fight between these two in high school. Basically, I had asked the guy in the green to bring in, if I remember this correctly, I might have it wrong. I had asked him to bring in his title histories. He had a notebook of title histories for his wrestling dolls from, when he was a kid, or maybe even when he was in high school. I don't know. So he brought it in, and then Slug was kind of a jerk and was like ripping the pages out, which is not cool. Not cool, and I think Slug would even admit that was a not nice thing to do. Put it that way. And yeah, so I think if I remember correctly, the guy in the green there pushed him, and then Slug tried to punch him, but by then people were pulling them apart, so Slug got this half cockeyed punch in that kind of just bounced off of TLD's shoulder, and kind of his knuckle might have tapped his cheek. It was the weakest punch ever, and Slug, knowing that his opportunity was lost, was basically had this look on his face no. So they were sitting in the office anyway. Slug got suspended. I think TLD, the guy in the green there, got suspended as well. So we've always called it the suspension hook as the name of the punch. This guy, really young kid who came to us after we had all been doing this for a couple years. I think he was only 18 when we first met him. By this point, I think he was 21-ish. But since then, he's gone off and he's lived in Europe, and he's been all over the place. So really cool. I wish he was still around and still coming to the shows, because I really like that guy. Not the best wrestler, and I think he'd be the first one to tell you he was not the best wrestler. But he always tried hard, and he was fun to be around. And I'd much rather have the guy who works hard and isn't great in the ring than the guy who's amazing in the ring and is a pain in the ass to deal with. So give me a million Eric Brownlees. I'll take them all day. And this is the guy I mentioned before, Travis Lee, who I grew up with. And yeah, so he's the one who actually came up with the name the Turkey Bowl. It wasn't this event. It was a tournament that he did, or maybe a battle royal or something like that he would do on Thanksgiving with his action figures. So I just combined the match that I used to do with my action figures and the name that he used to use. And in 2006, we started doing the Turkey Bowl. 2006, how old would I have been? That would have been 19. I was about 20 when we started doing the Turkey Bowl. So definitely too old to be. There we get. So this one was I think this was a triple threat match. Three-way dance. Three-way dance is a single fall or a double? I think it's a double elimination if it's a three-way dance. And we would normally do a triple threat where it'd be one fall to a finish, but because Shane Douglas was there, we did a three-way dance as kind of an homage to ECW. And a big circle going around. So that's kind of the fun thing and the problem with having these matches, because you're literally going in there, you haven't talked about anything, you don't know where anybody's going to... what anybody else is going to do, so it is tricky to get in there and do one of these. Looking for a high five. It could be one of those test of strength spots, which I think is straight out of the original three-way dance with Terry Funk, Shane Douglas, and Sabu. If I remember correctly, I believe that was the first one that ever happened. And now they're sending... Oh, they got the young boy. These two have had an odd history of... they've done storylines where they were both sharing TLD's wife, which is just a storyline. But... Well, we think it was just a storyline. We can't say for certain. We cannot say for certain. There may have been an attraction there that lingered beyond the ring, which is our ongoing joke to TLD. Probably just making up crap. And you could tell Finnegan's just cracking up about it because none of these things are actually moves. And Brownlee just crawling around the ring. Oh, I love that guy. Travis Lee, like a good heel backing up. I'll tell you what, this was the best look. So Travis Lee's had some other looks over the years. I think this was my favorite look that he had. He was kind of, I know he's not in shape by wrestling standards, and he's certainly not a technician or anything like that, but he's in shape for his body type, and he's in really good ring shape for where he needed to be at that point. And I'll just say that without getting into an argument between the body guys on social media and stuff like that. But he was exactly what he needed to be when it came to wrestling. Right now he's a little heavier than where he should be at, because he's getting older, right? Like it happens to all of us, and he'll be the first one to admit it. But as long as you can still move in there and still entertain the crowd, I think that's really all that matters. But this was definitely my favorite. I think my favorite look of his. He also did a match around this time that was called the Pretzel Death Match that he did with Matt Tremont, who's been featured on this channel before. It was a really fun match where they just kind of spoofed they basically spoofed a death match, but they used pretzels instead of light tubes and stuff like that. And instead of thumbtacks, it was like a bunch of like sourdough pretzel nuggets and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. And a good strategy for the three-way dance is throw somebody to the outside and then have two people in the ring. That's basically the easy way to do it. The way that I think Shane Douglas, Terry Funk, and Sabu did it was innovative for the time, because those three guys were in the ring primarily the whole time, and that's why I think that one kind of gets remembered as the best one. And there, Eric Bromley's eliminated, so that leaves, I believe, these two. And these two have wrestled so many times on all of our different shows over the years, so this will... Oh, and at the time, that's right, so at the time, Finnegan was a heel and working with Travis Lee. They were like a best friend couple. So there you go. There, Finnegan just cheated to help Travis Lee advance. But I think we kind of dug ourselves into a hole because Travis Lee was in that weird spot where he wasn't going to win, but at some point Finnegan had to count him out. So it was like we kind of, I don't know, we kind of stuck ourselves in a hole there. And now we'll get the next name here. Wow, wobbly camera there. I don't know if you can see, but on that shirt there, I have an extra camera that just it's taking a picture, and I may have mentioned this in the last video, but it takes a picture every 30 seconds. So I had all these extra pictures of kind of what the day was like as Mr. Ooh La La. And this was another one that was cool for me to see. Travis Lee is a big fan of Ooh La La as well, so him getting in the ring with him was kind of cool for me to see, and then it was cool for him to do, so. What kind of match is this one gonna be? Traditional style, okay, so that's just, your normal match. You have DQs, you have countouts, you have pinfalls, you have submissions, just like a standard match. Typically, I try to open the turkey bowl with that, if I can, where we'll just pretend like we're drawing a name and we'll start off the turkey bowl with that one, just to kind of get it out of the way. But again, that was one that was added because we just had too many people who wanted to, very unorthodox, we had too many people who wanted to do the event, and we're running out of matches, so it was more out of necessity than anything that the traditional match was entered into the Turkey Bowl, which is ironic because the first Turkey Bowl, we started with a traditional match, and then the second match was a stipulation followed by another and another, and so on. Ooh la la is so good. And if you stuck with me so far, I mean, we're more than halfway through this event now. So if you stuck with this, I appreciate it so much. And we have some cool things coming up on the channel. One of the things I'm going to try to do is we have an event in April, so early April. I think it's the first Saturday or Sunday in April. I'm going to try to do a live stream on the channel and kind of go over what I'm doing that day and what goes involved in it. As of right now, we're scheduled to be on Fight TV and stream that event on Fight TV. So I'm actually going to be working music, doing all the booking and stuff like I normally would, handling everything from the day to day. But I'm actually going to be doing the stream myself. So I'm going to be doing the camera angles, checking the audio levels, cutting everything together as the show's going on. So it's going out there live. In addition to doing music and everything else. So I could probably find somebody to do music for me, but I kind of want to challenge myself to see if I could do both. And this will be the first time we've attempted to do that. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll kind of have I'm hoping to do a live video on YouTube that day to kind of talk about the preparations and what went into it and what's the equipment we're using and hopefully, any aspiring promoters out there or bookers can kind of take a look and get some ideas or some thoughts on what to do, or a lot of times more important, what not to do. So look for that on the channel. I have more of my series with Dutch Mantel that's going to come out. So I have a lot of interesting videos coming up. The other one, I think it's going to be after this video. If not, it was right before this video. It's going to be one thing I get asked the most is what does this cost? What does this cost? What's the cost for this? So a lot of monetary questions that I get. So the one I'm going to cover is what's the biggest cost when it comes to running a professional wrestling show? Because I think that's one that a lot of people will be interested in and curious to learn about. So I have a video it's already filmed and edited, so I'll be putting that up. I believe it's going to be next week, but don't hold me to that. And I didn't catch it, but I believe Finnegan may have cheated there to help Travis Lee along there. That's KTB coming to the ring. Strong guy, yep. Keep it nice and generic. And this was just, it was kind of a fun thing for KTB to do. It was on a Sunday when there's not usually a ton of wrestling shows on a Sunday. So at least in our area, there's not. It tends to be Saturday or Friday nights that they're running shows. So this was kind of a fun extra booking for him. And these guys were actually building to a program that was going to air on our next show, which I think was December of that year. So it was going to be the next month. So this would air, this quote unquote would air on Thanksgiving. So this was kind of a fun way for them to get in the ring a little bit right before their match at our December show. So it was a good way for them to kind of work out any kinks and just kind of feel each other out in the ring. Travis moving slow in there. KTB is definitely a strong dude, and he's kind of getting some accolades in the last couple months. We had him in the Super 8 last year, and he was on AEW earlier this year. He's been on a bunch of different events. Of course, he's always on Game Changer and stuff like that. Last man standing, so referee's counting him down. Wouldn't be surprised if he starts slow counting at some point to help Travis Lee out. And you can see every time the one problem with that corner camera is no matter what, anytime you get thrown into that post, it rocks that camera because that post will move if you got a full grown man getting thrown into there. So And the other camera that's in the corner there, the one that's next to this, so if you're facing this, it'll be to the left, sort of where Finnegan was on the other side. This camera right here, this was actually on a camera jib, but the problem was nobody was doing the jib movements. Like, they were just letting the camera sit stationary. So it's kind of pointless that we put it on there, but I always like the look if you have a crane or a jib where you can basically move the camera up and down, not up and down, jerking up and down, but slowly going up and slowly going down. So when you have a spot like this where it's a headlock, you have that cool motion of the camera, and it's not just a stagnant shot like we're stuck with here. So that's kind of my go-to is if we have that view, which you've done on other turkey bowls. I always try to use that view because I think that looks awesome. And you see right here, like, this would look so cool if this camera was moving right now, just kind of floating down a little bit. But unfortunately, the people, we're kind of stuck. It's a rotating cast of wrestlers who are doing camera for us because you never know when you're going to get called into the match. So at this point, it's probably a guy who had already been in the ring, so he's probably still blown up and just kind of standing behind the camera, making sure it doesn't get knocked down, which is not ideal. It's not the way you're supposed to do camera, but you got to work with what you got, right? And this may have been where Finnegan was forced to count Travis Lee out. I don't remember if this is where he gets eliminated or if it's later on, but I think the story we tried to tell, or they were trying to tell, was I can count to 100. He's done here. I think we're at 9 there. And yeah, he doesn't want to count, and he knows it's over. It's 10. So yeah, so that was an interesting thing that they were kind of stuck doing in the middle of the Turkey Bowl. But it's kind of interesting because everybody's kind of keeping to their storylines and their characters, even though they know that nobody's ever going to see this stuff. So that's always cool to see that people are just kind of working their stuff to keep it interesting, keep it fresh, despite the fact that it this will never see the light of day. Who's out next? I think I could have used a better angle here. This is edited by me, but I think I could have used a better angle while we're waiting for somebody else to come out here. And there is Chris Rockwell, one of my go-to guys. He's had a million gimmicks. I don't know what he's wearing right there. I think it was after they had tried doing like this dodgeball gimmick for no reason. I'm definitely cracking up. It's an MMA style match, which it's funny when you do this kind of match because nobody ever knows what the hell to do. But the idea is it's supposed to be like a UFC style, so you can get knocked out, you can get choked out. It's kind of that thought process. One thing we haven't done that I'd like to do is actually have one of these go to a decision, right? Because that happens in UFC all the time, where at the end of it, it goes to the officials, right? So I think that'd be kind of cool to do. But these guys just assumed it was karate and went with the karate look, so that's what we got. Up the neck snap. And now he's going to punch him. Oh, he twisted the nose there. Rockwell has since moved to Florida, as all wrestlers do in the last 3 years, it seems like. But he actually moved there before it was the trend, and he still comes up for all of our shows, so it's cool to still have him there. But he was basically a fixture for me when I was booking for World 1 all those years. He actually held the belt for 7 years almost. He won it in January of 2010, and then he lost it in October of 2016, the end of October of 2016. So he was just 2 months away, really, from 7 years as champion, which was crazy. And he wrestled a lot of cool guys, too. He defended the belt in like North Carolina. He defended against Steve Corino, Jerry Lynn, C.W. Anderson. They did a unification match with the World 1 title and the PWF title in North Carolina. He wrestled Sabu and Rhino and Stevie Richards a bunch of times. So there was a lot of cool matches there that he was able to do as the World One champion, as well as the younger wrestlers too, right? Like Colby Carino and stuff like that. That was one of his first matches, was against Rockwell when he was the champion. So he did a lot of cool stuff for us as champion. And again, like I said, he was always one of my go-to guys there. And we're waiting for Greg Spitz' entrance. So this was, I forgot this was on here. So this is actually great. So this is the year before. You see that there's Kevin Sullivan in the purple in the bottom corner there, Justin Credible and Shane Douglas, and they're coming out to beat the hell out of Travis Lee, who's on his knees begging right now that they don't beat him up. Shane Douglas has got that fist on his hand, and now they're just going to lay into him here. And that's his brother, who that Shane Douglas just hit in the background there. And yeah, they just kind of put the boots in there. Shane Douglas fisting Travis Lee. Justin Credible goes for a super kick, drills him. Just drilled. The guy's name was the Mayor. And meanwhile, Greg Spitz is still making his entrance. Greg Spitz's entrance music is Freebird, and he waits for the entire length of the song before he comes out. So we thought it was good to put some old footage there in the bottom corner, just to fill the time here, and I'm glad we did, because now I have something to talk about while we're waiting on Greg Spitz, as Rockwell was really into DDP yoga at the time, which I think he stopped like 3 days after this show, so he's got a wide range of interests, and they change almost weekly. And I'm sure Greg Spitz is on this. There he is. Okay. Greg Spitz has since formed a team with another guy we love, Teddy Fine, called the Marvelous Ones, and they're probably my favorite tag team in wrestling right now. They're so good together. Also, I love that ring gear of the one short pant leg, and then the singlet, like the Lawler style one strap singlet, or the Andre style singlet. The good thing about this is that Rockwell's probably nice and warmed up, but not blown up at this point, because he had all this time to recover. And this one is the turkey on the pole match, so that's... And Rockwell didn't realize that he was going for it, I guess, that quickly. Back rake. And once again, there's really not... There's not a point to the turkey on a pole match. It's really just, you have to grab the turkey, and then the match can end. So we're clearly running out of matches at this point. And I think there's just 2 more matches that follow this one, so... I always like to tell people, if you're a fan of pro wrestling, you probably won't be a fan of this one, because it's not pro wrestling. But I guess it is, right? I mean, pro wrestling can kind of be what you want it to be. At the same time, we're kind of breaking all the rules, and kind of, it's almost a spoof of what wrestling is. It's working on the wrist. And I guess that's the good thing too, right? Is that you're in there, and you can try stuff that you really can't try or shouldn't try in front of a paying crowd. You have the opportunity to experiment, and then when you watch it back, you can decide, hey, that worked, or no, that didn't work. I better not do that again. So I think that's the cool thing about doing stuff like this, is it opens up that endless possibility that you kind of have. And when you first start, right, doing wrestling and doing all the shows and stuff like that, like, even as a kid, you kind of have this, it's endless, right? The amount of possibilities and the storylines you can do, and all this stuff, and it kind of throws back to, I don't know, just the endless world of wrestling, and I kind of like that about these events. We would do a show a couple years ago where he would always find that camera and always kind of make these weird faces towards it, like he didn't know what the camera was, like it was just this black box that was jettisoning out of the the ring corner. So that was kind of a throwback that only we would get. But again, we're the only people who this show is intended for. So. And now Greg Spitz gonna try to get that turkey. Nope. So they're just doing apron spots, basically. Well, they're just beating each other up on the apron, which is hysterical. Oh, he's going on the wrong side there. Definitely stalling for time here. Oh, and he's got it. So now this match can officially end now that he's got the turkey here. Which, that turkey is a blown up turkey that you could just, it's inflatable. There's always somebody's job to inflate that turkey right before the show, so. I think they may have actually ripped it and popped it. And that could be, he pinned them with the turkey there. A fine ending. A fine ending to a fine match. A lot of fun. A lot of fun, these kind of matches. And here we go. Who's out next? I forget who it was. Oh, there you go. See, that's the crane should be moving like this. Like that's the kind of look I wanted for when there was, you know, a slow spot, like a chin lock or something like that. That's perfect opportunity to use a camera like that and use a smooth movement. Here we go. Shane Douglas. Former Dean. And this one, I believe this is like an ECW rules or something match, is the idea. Although that's a term that is actually inaccurate. Yeah, it's ECW rules match. So, I mean, ECW rules were... It wasn't a thing. Like, there really wasn't... There was rules, but they just didn't... They didn't use DQs and stuff like that, so I don't know. ECW rules, the term, is a WWE term, though. It didn't exist in ECW. It was just, we don't like DQing and counting out because the fans hate that crap. Like, it's... I get that it helps stories sometimes, but as a fan, I've never liked it. Never, ever, ever liked it. And you gotta always do something to make up for that crappy finish, in my opinion. You can't just let that happen and fade to black. And this is actually the first time these two would actually get in the ring. So Rockwell was pretty excited about that because Shane Douglas is one of the few ECW guys he had not stepped in the ring with at this point in his career. Man, Shane moves so smooth. You can tell, man, when these guys have been doing this as long as these two, how crisp this stuff is. It's like all of a sudden a wrestling match breaks out in the middle of the turkey bowl. Yeah, this one I could have watched for a long time, and I apologize if I'm being a little quiet because I'm actually just really enjoying watching this. But yeah, I would have liked to see them do maybe a traditional style match and just let them get in there and kind of work it for 15 minutes. I think that would have been a great match. But we're throwing this ECW style, which is weird because I know Shane Douglas is definitely part of the ECW lexicon, right? But I don't think of him as an ECW wrestler, quote unquote. Rob Van Dam you can always picture with the tables and the chairs and stuff like that, especially like his matches with Jerry Lynn. And even Jerry Lynn, you could picture with the tables and the chairs, but Shane, I just always picture as a straight wrestler. And I think more than anybody, I think Shane embodies ECW, because when I think of the ECW World Champion, I think of Shane Douglas, without fail. So I don't know. I think there's something to be said that ECW was way more than just weapons, and I think it gets the rap now as being the fire and the tables and stuff, and definitely that was prevalent, but it wasn't everything. It wasn't what ECW was from the ground up. ECW was characters and story above all. This is a guy, Abs Armstrong, who had previously wrestled with us as Rico DMF, was his name. And this is literally the first time he's doing this gimmick. He had never done it before. We had just talked about it, and he just wanted to try it out. But then he realized he's trying it out now, and he's trying it against Shane Douglas. And I could just see his face going white when he realized there was only two people left. One of them was Shane, and one of them was him. And then if Shane Douglas advanced in the previous match, he was going to be in the ring with Shane Douglas. So it definitely made him nervous, and he was definitely... you could see even in his lockup, he's just very stiff and rigid and not sure what to do. Oh, look at that. Now he's firing up. But this is a guy who's been a part of like my wrestling story for since 2001, I think, maybe even before then. He actually had a backyard fed in the same town I grew up in, the same neighborhood, in fact. So it was his friends, and then I had my friends, and we kind of combined and turned it into this backyard show that went on public access. And then a couple of those guys ended up training, a couple of them went pro, and a couple of them are still wrestling with us to this day. So it's been a crazy journey, and it all kind of started with him and I sort of joining forces early on. He had some knee injuries and stuff like that in the in-between, like before this event. This is one of the first ones he came back with. And so he was still a little hesitant and definitely a little rusty, I think he would say. And was definitely not in shape either, which is the funny part. That's why we came up with the gimmick of Abs Armstrong, because he sort of had that belly and he wanted to paint abs on himself. So it would... like he was thinking like, hey, I'll do like a body Donna's gimmick where like I'm really talking about how in shape I am, and then I just kind of am flubby and flabby. So yeah, I don't know. I think it could have we could have done more with it. Unfortunately, he was doing that gimmick, and then we were kind of running. I don't know. We were running like every 4 months, and then there was shows that he couldn't make. So he would have this, for the shows he couldn't make, he would have 8 months off. And then, COVID happened, and it just didn't line up for him the way I would have liked it to. But either way, I was happy to see him get his chance against Shane Douglas in this one. That's kind of a cool spot to be in for any aspiring wrestler or anybody who's been doing this for any length of time. I actually was lucky enough to compete against Shane Douglas in the 2016 Turkey Bowl. That was the year we had Shane in it, and we had Tito Santana. So Shane, all in all, Shane has been involved in 4 Turkey Bowls, which is kind of funny. And now these two are just going on. There's that tire. So look at that. We bookended the Turkey Bowl. It kind of started with that tire, and we're kind of bringing it home with that tire as well. As this is the last match of this event, so we're closing in on the end here. And it's funny because we didn't have a roving camera, somebody with a camera in their hand, so a handheld camera, I guess is a better way of saying that. So they were kind of limited to where they could go. Just trying to make stuff up. And again, it's got to be nerve-wracking to try out a brand new character here in front of somebody like Shane Douglas. But I think he did a great job with it. And this was just a really fun event, and he's counting his abs here. He's got a six-pack there in case you couldn't count. And what was cool for me is when we get to the ending here, which is just a matter of moments away, I believe. Yep, this will do it here. 1, 2, and 3. It was cool to see, you know, on that belt, there's the winner of every Turkey Bowl since we started doing it. And, you know, as I sit here, the Turkey Bowl belt is, you know, sitting across from me. And it's cool to see Shane Douglas's name on a belt that has, you know, a list of my friends. So just remember, like, wrestling is fun, and it's great, and it can be dangerous, it can be safe, it can be all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, remember why you got into it, and remember these kind of moments, because this is the stuff that's important. This is the stuff that matters. You know, somebody like Shane Douglas, who I grew up watching, who I'm a huge fan of to this day, sitting there holding up one of our championship belts. I mean, I don't know that it gets any better than something like that, even after all these years. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please beat the shit out of the like button, and we'll see you next week for 3 Minute Thursday.